Hello, welcome back to Health and Life with me, Coach Shadley, where I'm spreading love, light, and knowledge to you. This is like part 2 on autism. I don't think we understand or know enough about it, but I guess we're learning more as more and more adults are being diagnosed with autism. So first, let me say that they're being diagnosed with it because it was missed when they were kids, because they were quote unquote on the higher end of the autism spectrum, where they were able to function a lot better, where they were able to assimilate themselves into their environment a lot better without being detected, so to speak. What is interesting to me is that there's a lot of mental health issues that go around this topic, and it's twofold. Maybe some of the mental health issues, I wonder if they're there when they're younger, or are some of the mental health issues are developed over time because they don't have the coping mechanisms that they need to function in society the way everybody else does and everyone else feels is normal. I don't particularly believe in normal, and you can watch, I did another video that I posted on being your authentic self, because this is a two-edged sword for the autistic children, because they are not quote unquote normalized into society. Maybe they can't go to class and sit still like everybody else does, so because they are ADHD, their minds are racing all the time, and that's what allows them to do things, excel, and assimilate within society, because autistic children are very bright, whether or not they can speak. They're very bright children. And I say children because even the adults that are being diagnosed with autism, at one time they were children. It's just something that was missed. And getting diagnosed when you are an adult, it's difficult. It's just difficult, because that's a double-edged sword also, because there are a lot of healthcare professionals that say the autism diagnosis is being overused. And there's the other end of it, that when you have a child who's reached their late 20s and 30s and they're not functioning, and you can't put your finger on what's going on, and they're struggling and they're burnt out, it's really hard. It's really hard. And it's hard on everyone. Mental health issues destroy families. Destroy families. It's really important that we take mental health seriously, because everyone suffers from a little bit of mental health, whether it's a little bit of depression, a little bit of anxiety, maybe like you don't live in that state all the time, but we all have something and times in our lives, like it may not be lifelong, it may be situational, but we all have times in our lives where we struggle with depression or anxiety. And for the child who's autistic, it's a lifelong struggle. Because can you imagine that you have a conversation with someone and you're having, one person thinks they're having one conversation and the other person is in a completely different world. 1 in 30 kids is on the autism spectrum, and many of them go undetected. And the testing can take up to 2 years, depending on your financial situation. And that's unfortunate, especially for an adult. It's unfortunate because by the time you're an adult, or you're in your 30s, or your late 20s, mid 20s, whatever, and you're figuring out that maybe something might be wrong and you need to get tested, most likely you're no longer insured by your parents. Maybe they're finding out because they can't hold down a job. They assimilated so well that they didn't gain the life skills that they needed at a younger age, so that they could better continue to assimilate or at least function. It's really sad. What I want to say is that the next time that you see someone, whether it's at work or at school or out somewhere, and they're struggling, think about that. And don't label them. Think about the fact that they might be having trouble relating, in that the struggle is real and you're under pressure and you're in this environment and you're working and you got to get things done. But we forget sometimes we throw people into these environments and we make them workhorses, whether it's in school. In school, you're a workhorse too. You're just supposed to go to school, sit in the chair for however many hours a day, do what the teacher says, do your homework, take a task, go home, and come back and you do it all over again. You're trained from when you're a child to just do whatever you're told, because it's follow the leader, and the leader is the teacher. When you get to work, the boss is the teacher, or your lead, or your manager, or your supervisor is that teacher that you're following. What happens though is the rules change, don't they? The rules when you're in school and the rules when you go to get a job are different. Guess what? That child that's on the autism spectrum, that's having trouble assimilating, now they have to go out into this environment. They don't know the rules have changed. They just get smacked with the rules getting changed, and we're like, oh, why can't they function like everyone else? They were never like everyone else. I think that the education system needs to change. From the time the kids are little, because to make room for individuality. Because if you watch my last video, I talk about this. It's for good reason that we normalize things, but like that normalizing gets lost in translation, because in translation, we lose the person. We just want the normal. We don't want the person. What we want is we want that person to be normal and to fit into the group and everybody to behave the same. But we're not the same. We're not, even if you are not on the autism spectrum, you're not the same as someone else. You're different. You're individual. And they chip away at that individuality a little bit at a time. And when you get into the workforce, it's chipped away at even further, because by the time you get to work environment, a lot of work environments are repetitive work. If you're not nurturing your individuality, if you don't know that, hey, I need to nurture my individuality myself, like that, it gets lost in translation. And here's the thing. That child that's on the autism spectrum, at least this is what I believe. This is not any research. I'm not a scientist. I'm just giving you my thoughts. But that child doesn't know that they're not supposed to be. Well, they know that they're not supposed to be authentic because they've been following the leader. But when the rules change and the environment change, they don't know who to follow. Who are they supposed to follow? And then they start figuring out, this is not fun anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I just want to be myself. And then when they show up as themselves, everybody's shocked. Up to and including the parents are shocked. And because everything is so normalized, we're just supposed to be normal. Maybe that's why a lot of parents homeschool, because when you homeschool, your child gets maintain their individuality a lot more, and maybe this would be caught. Then again, we're living the normal life, so the parents have to work, so how can they homeschool? They gotta go be the workforce and go be normal at their job. And I'm not saying that there's not reasons to be normal. Obviously, we need rules in society so that society can function. But the fact that individuality is lost in the translation, and what that means when your authenticity and your individuality is lost, it means that your creativity is lost. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. We all have to work. We have to pay our bills. But if all I do all day, every day, is go to work, cook dinner, stock shelves, and because that's what I was taught I have to do, I don't tap into my creativity. I don't tap into my own individuality. I don't tap into who I am authentically and learn to assimilate that person into society. You become lost in translation. And the reason why I keep badgering that thought is because the autistic child began to lose himself or herself a long time ago without being noticed. without anyone noticing. The ending message that I have for you is that be mindful of when people are showing up to work, because you never know. There might be some mental health issues, and you could be the one to say something or be kind. Be kind to them that prevents them from having that breakdown, that prevents them from burning out. Yeah. I'll keep you guys posted with a part 3. This is part 2 on autism. I really felt the need to speak to it because it's not just about autism. It's about integrating an individuality and mental health. So at the end of the day, that person that works in the next cubicle by you, they could be autistic, they could not. It does matter, but does it matter? Shouldn't we just respect everyone's individuality and give people grace for being where they're at? Obviously not letting them step all over you. That's not acceptable. We have to draw the line somewhere, and that's why autistic kids, they need the skills, the social skills, not so they can not be themselves, but that's so they can better understand what's happening around them. Those social cues that we take for granted. Something as simple as your boss giving you like that weird look might not be picked up by somebody who has mental health issues, whether they're bipolar, autistic, whatever. They're stressed out. When you have mental health issues, the social cues are harder to pick up on. And yes, there's a place for everything. And yes, it makes it hard when the other person is not quote unquote normal, or like you've been taught to be. Because I don't know that I'm normal. I'm just me. But I'm normal for me anyway. But just be mindful that people around you could just need a kind word to get them through so that they don't burn out. It's sad, but also I just want to finish off by saying it's not so sad, because truth be told, those children are bright. Those adults are bright. They have a lot to offer if the rest of us can just slow down, be patient. I'm sending you love and light.